Hi, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. Cory, I just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Can you hear me, Nikki?
Yep, I can hear you now. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
And Christy, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you can go ahead and get started. Okay.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. Last week, we were unable to deliver our TEL Talk due to audio technical issues on the GoToWebinar system. So we're hoping, and it seems like things are going to go smoothly for us all today, and we are just so thankful for your patience. Welcome to the April TEL Talk titled Early Childhood Leaders, How Are You Coping? How Can We Help? Before we begin, we would like to share a few pieces of information with you. TEL Talks, or Topics for Early Learning Leaders, are monthly webinars based on identified interests from center directors and program leaders in the early childhood education field of Minnesota. Our goal is to bring these topics to light and facilitate a solutions-focused discussion for your questions. Some of our previous topics included courageous conversations, getting ready for the census, achieve memberships, scholarships and grants, and professional development for directors. If you are interested in listening to the recording of any of these webinars, please email me, Christy Berg, or my colleague, Nikki Lepowski. Coming up in May, we will welcome Taya Dahl to speak on mental health for families and employees. And then in June, we will hear from Katie Hoffman, Michelle Lenhart, and Jennifer Barshak on talking to staff and families about quality rating improvement systems. So what is Child Care Aware of Minnesota? We are a resource and referral network for early childhood education in our state. The map on the right side of this slide shows the CCA of Minnesota districts and regional offices. Child Care Aware helps families find a quality child care program. We support the professional growth of early childhood educators with professional development opportunities, eager to learn training, grants, parent aware, scholarships, and trainer and RBPD support. We keep the community informed on the importance of quality childcare. The TEL Talks team consists of Nikki Lepowski and myself. Nikki is the Quality Improvement Coordinator, and I am the Workforce Advising Coordinator at Child Care Aware of Minnesota. Nikki and I are joined by a few of our colleagues today. We have Elsa Carlson, the TARS Manager at Child Care Aware, Becky Gillard, the Health and Safety Coordinator at Center for Inclusive Childcare, Kristen Wheeler-Highland, Early Childhood Specialist at Manesi-Mensaka, and Cory Woosley, the Director of Workforce Development at Child Care Aware. Cory is going to lead our conversation today, and before I hand things off to her, I want to share that you may utilize the chat function in the webinar today. So please share your ideas and questions. And just so that you know, we do have a record number of participants. Over 200 people have registered for this TEL Talk. So we do hope to be able to answer as many questions as we can during the webinar. We will take down any questions not answered and send a follow-up email out just as soon as we can afterward. With that, I will turn it over to Cory.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Early Childhood Leaders. How are you coping and how can we help? Someplace along the line, the title got changed to How Can We Help in a Pandemic? And so when that went out, all of a sudden, holy buckets, you people came running and you really wanted to see us. So we got a little nervous, as Christy said. We had 230. At one point, honestly, we were up to 380 registrants. So we are here to provide you with information today and to also hear your ideas, because we understand and we know that you are out in the field and you have a lot of information to share. We also understand that we are in a good place to help you. We are not experts on everything. So as we looked at the growth of our enrollment today, we looked at who else is available to help and who else is familiar with the work that we're doing. So that is when we decided to bring in our friends from Manesi and CICC to help us as well. Again, we will be looking at your comments and having you share through the chat box. We are not going to unmute, but we will share through the chat box, and hopefully you will hear your voice being heard, but we remind you that you will be heard regardless. And one thing Nikki and Christy and I talked a lot about as we were prepping for this is that, you know, today we'll be together for 45 minutes or so, but what Child Care Aware is hoping is that we are just starting an opportunity to support and help you. This is just the beginning. So continue to keep Nikki and Christy and I our names out there. Continue to think about what you need from us. We don't want this 45 minutes to be the end point. We want it to be a starting point. So we are excited for that. So my name's Cory Woosley. I'm the Director of Workforce Development. I'm also faculty at Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Dakota in their early childhood departments. And one thing I was thinking about as well when we were contemplating this topic is that, and then they changed the word to pandemic, and I also think about my friend Kristen, who's here today and sharing with you. We've been in the field 37 years. That's a long time. And we've seen a lot of changes and we've seen things go up and down, but neither of us has ever been through a pandemic. And so as much as we are here to support you and want to talk to you, this is something new to all of us. And I believe in the strength of early childhood, and I believe in each one of you and that you can bring things to the table. And so I think Kristen and I said, well, you know, we have really great colored hair, but we don't have the answers to everything in a pandemic. So please chime in and know that we truly believe in you and are here to support you. Oh, Fred, gotta love Fred. Go ahead and read the quote. I don't know if y'all remember 2001. My boys were little then, and they still weren't that little because I'm really old, but they were younger, and we had the experience of 911, which was incredibly frightening and incredibly scary for a lot of people. At that time, Fred was retired, and he was asked to come out of retirement to create materials and create conversations that would support our children as they were frightened and scared during the time of 911. And I do remember my boys. I think my youngest was probably 5, but I do remember them being afraid. So I pondered and I posed a question to myself. That was, since that's the only one we're really seeing these days. And I thought, what would Fred do today? And I imagine if he could, he would come out of retirement again and he would say, early childhood people, you are helpers, you are essential, and you are the people and the profession that make everything possible. I think we've seen that a lot lately, and I do believe that, and I know Fred believes that, and I know he would be here to help you. So we decided to think about our buckets and what are some of the areas that you may need help with coping in. And I know there's a million trillion areas, but we decided with our the expertise of our colleagues and our own staff at Child Care Aware, we would put these into buckets. And when I looked at these buckets, I thought, oh, those aren't little buckets. That's not a tin bucket. That's an ocean. That is a huge, huge Pacific Ocean full of things that each one of you do every day. And when I looked at this list, that's 5 oceans. That's like Earth, man. Oh, it was Earth Day yesterday, by the way, too. So we are covering the Earth with all of the things. So as we look through these and as we go into them in depth, we're going to proceed with the webinar in a couple ways. We will have an expert share a little bit of information, but then we're going to move into asking your support and your ideas. And again, we will be tracking these. They will be coming out compiled in an email. It'll probably take us, you know, I would say by this time next week, we'll do it again. So the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about families, and Nikki Lepowski is going to share. Nikki works directly with the directors through the accelerated program, and she's going to talk a little bit with you right now.
Hi, thanks, Cory. Yeah, we're all here because we all take care of families, and hopefully we all consider ourselves part of a larger family and community in early childhood ed. So when we're preparing, like Cory said, for today's TEL Talk and actually thinking about TEL Talks in general, we really wanted to create that sense of community and helping to bring everybody together. And I'm sure that all of you are doing that in your own unique ways, both with your programs that are closed and potentially with your, hopefully still with your programs that are open. So one of the things that we wanted to ask is that we took a minute just to think about how you all are connecting with your families, whether your program is open or closed. How are you staying connected, and what's working or what's changed maybe based on what's happening in these times? So with some conversation with other directors and program leaders, I have a few ideas that I'd like to share. Feel free to chime in on the question or the chat function with some of the ideas that you're thinking of or the ways that have come up for you. We'll also have a poll shortly after this to just see how you're, again, continuing to support families. But the first thing to think about is, again, in a general sense, can you give some examples of how you're connecting with families? So as you take some time to think about that, I'll share the ones that we've collected already. One of the ideas that I heard from a program leader was that their program is currently closed and they were looking for ways to keep families connected. So they were of course, first getting confidentiality agreement signed off, but they were sharing home addresses with families from family to family, either in their same classroom or age group or children that they would like to connect with. And so some of the children were practicing their writing skills by being a pen pal, or maybe their art or drawing skills, and sending things from home to home. Another idea that we heard was a phone or video tree. Again, for a program that potentially is closed, or you could use this with open program too, is directors, program leaders, and our teachers were organizing time for children to talk on the phone. So they were planning practicing some of their phone etiquette and using those phone skills to connect. Also, an idea that we heard was that program leaders organized some email lists so that they could get quick access out to their families and their programs about weekly updates and things that were happening. And many programs have or are connected to social media. So we were hearing the idea of utilizing their Facebook page or social media pages to update families about things that are going on, either within their own, four walls or within their community. And bringing that sense of community even stronger is being a donation or a drop-off site for a local food shelf or a local agency that supports people at this time. And a couple other ideas that I'll share before we go to questions in the poll is also having the children of your program make artwork or write letters for essential workers so that they can bring those into their place of business, or just, again, share their sentiments and their thoughts that can always bring a smile to families' faces. The last idea that we wanted to share, which I've actually seen programs share this on social media recently, is having the children teach the families about proper hand washing. So I'm sure many of you out there have been toddler or preschool teachers before and know that once you teach them a skill, they tend to like to repeat it a lot. So that glitter activity or that germ hand washing activity can go a long ways in having our toddlers or preschoolers help reinforce those healthy habits. So those are some of the ideas that we had collected, and I want to just take some time quickly to go to the questions box and see. Looks like we have had a lot of really great shares, and again, we'll compile all this information, so please put questions in the question box, put ideas, solutions. That's why we're all here. Oh, there's the idea of text message check-ins. That's really great. Videos of staff reading books and doing puppet shows. Thank you. Those are awesome. Hopefully you can all see the questions or the ideas in the chat. And if you can't, we will make sure to share these out after today's webinar. Just want to share one more from responses that we got from the participants on today's webinar is that Lily shares that they took a break this week, but we have they were closed since March 17th, and they'd had regularly scheduled Zoom book readings and song time with herself and some of the teachers. So that's really awesome. Thanks for sharing, everybody. Oh, Sheila William Ridge, this is a great idea too. They've been conducting evening parent night check-ins on Zoom after the kids go to bed. What an awesome idea and a way to keep connected with those parents and be a stable resource for them. So thanks everybody for those shares. I also just want to mention, if you can see on your screen, you should be able to see a poll. We just like to engage you this way. If you can just take a quick minute to answer the quick poll there. Oh, maybe not. It didn't work. It was supposed to be an option to type in. So technical issue on my part. Sorry, just disregard the poll. But feel free to type in those ideas and keep them coming in the questions box. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nikki. One of the other things that Katie Hoffman brought up when we were planning for this was thinking about families and the direction. And I know even with our own staff, we have a lot of families that are providing childcare at home while they're working or schooling their kids. And then I know many of you directors are not only working and taking care of your own children, you're also doing school work with your older children. And I honestly could not do math. Now, if you told me to do math, I'd never be able to do it. So I'm really glad I don't have to, but I feel for you. The other thing we were thinking about with families too is you also have a lot of inconsistency in scheduling. Families that may come one day and not the other. So if you have any thoughts about that, go ahead and put that in the chat box, and Nikki will share those as well. I know it's the inconsistent schedule, the fear, the not knowing if they should come. Take a second to write some of that if you want to share any thoughts with us. And I'll hold 1 minute. Nikki, if you see any of those, any comments, go ahead and share.
Thanks, Cory. Yeah, as Cory said, every idea is a great idea because it might spur on some creativity with someone else. So we really encourage you to participate and appreciate those that have already. It looks like, Cory, a lot of people are doing the story time shares.
Okay, good.
They're really great. And then it also looks like one program leader said that they've been using some technology like tadpole apps or phone calls, also maybe posting artwork on their own Facebook site.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I love books. We did this. I'm just going to tell them what we did at work today because my mom's a librarian, and if you didn't know, today is National Book Day. And so we started a thread with our staff at work on what was one of your favorite childhood books. And I was so excited. Weren't you excited, Nikki? We got more responses today than we get to the Rotten Tomato in the fridge. So
Yes, it was
really
great.
exciting. So, of course, there were a couple of us that our books were really, really old. But anyways, all right, well, we're going to move on past the ocean of family, and we're going to talk about the children, which is a bigger ocean. And for this, we have invited our friend, Becky Gillard from the CICC to talk a little bit about some of the work they're doing. Becky, take it away.
Awesome, thanks, Cory. Really happy to be here with you guys today and share a little bit of info. As Cory mentioned, my name is Becky and I'm with the Center for Inclusive Childcare. And our organization provides coaching support to programs, and we focus on inclusion, health and safety, and caring for infants and toddlers. So we cover a lot of topics that you guys are probably working through right now with everything that's going on. But today I'm here to share a little bit about what children need during this time frame. So we all know these are unsettling times. We've never been here before. And children are really certainly feeling the effects of this. And you are probably seeing that in their behavior right now. So the question is, what can you do to help children cope with feelings of being unsettled? So you are the anchor for children, and as that anchor, you can provide what they need. So structure, routine, reassurance, and a sense of safety. So really big topics, but CICC has a new tip sheet available that will give you some ideas to kind of break that down a little bit, and how to support children in those different areas. So I'll give you that overview today, but know that you can find the full tip sheet with more details at our website. It's called Supporting Children in Uncertain Times, Responding to the Coronavirus. You can just search coronavirus on our website and it should pop right up, but we will also be emailing it out to you after today's webinar, so you'll have it right in your inbox to reference. So let's dig in. You guys likely do a lot of this stuff already, but we will just, this will be in one quick place for you, so you don't have to spend your precious time racking your brain and tracking it down. So the first thing we'll talk about is keep things predictable. Establish routines and schedules. Let children know what each day will include. And it's really okay if it takes some time to practice, to find a new routine. Like we've mentioned before, we're all new to this. We're all figuring it out as we go. So try new things out, see what works, ditch stuff that doesn't work. But keeping things predictable and having a routine and schedule is super helpful for children. Next, offer opportunities to play and then plan activities that will keep children engaged. So this can especially apply to older children who might have some of that schoolwork that they have to do at home. When things get overwhelming and emotions get high, take a break, find some time to play, do some sensory activities that can really help children calm during times of stress. So just finding ways to keep kids engaged and get some of those play breaks can be helpful. Give children extra time, attention, and patience. There's a lot of feelings right now, so this is a time to take to listen a little bit more, acknowledge concerns and feelings, and then give some simple answers to questions as you go along. Older kids might have, some more in-depth questions. Younger kids maybe not. But just know that it might take a little bit of extra time and patience right now to feel heard and have some concerns acknowledged. Next, offer children the opportunity to help. Children really gain a sense of control when they can be helpers. So this doesn't have to be anything in depth. It can be setting the table, watering plants, any just small way that they can help and give them that sense of control when they otherwise don't have it. Something you guys do all the time already, but it's super important right now, is to teach good health practices and model them throughout the day. So, hand washing, covering coughs, everything like that. Not only is it important just to keep us healthy, but it can help children feel like they're doing their part to keep everybody safe and healthy. Next, we talk about restricting media access about the virus. This one can be kind of hard. We all want to stay informed and up to date on all the new information. But even when we think kids aren't paying attention, we know they are. They're taking some things in. So it's important to limit or restrict that access and instead use some screen time to connect with family or friends. Things that will fill up your bucket a little bit. Next, teach children calming techniques. So deep breathing and calming exercises can be super helpful, as well as experiences where children can push or pull. So that can be as simple as pushing against a wall, pulling a wagon. Those can help children feel more in control of their bodies, which can really bring down those stress levels. And then finally, be sure to take care of yourself. Things that are helpful for children are also helpful for you. So set a routine, find a practice that really grounds you and helps you manage when you feel overwhelmed. That will help you feel capable of helping others. And it will also set a really good example for children for things that they can do when they're feeling that way. And then if you guys are looking for some support from a coach, if you want to bounce some ideas off of somebody, If you have a challenging behavior that you just don't know what to do with right now, give us a call. We'd be happy to connect you with someone. We're obviously not going into programs right now, but we're still available via phone and video, and our coaches are eager to support you and give you some really great ideas and get connected. So with that, I'll pass it back over to you, Cory.
Thanks, Becky. That was lovely. I have to say, because Cindy Kraft years ago, like 20 years ago, peeled me out of my house and said, you should come back to work and get out of your house, Cory. I'd been in there for 10 years with my kids. So my heart is always around Center for Inclusive Childcare, and they do amazing work, and we will have their contact information available for you. So let's take a minute and see what you guys are hearing about the children. You're going to hear, I mean, Becky talked a lot about things to do. Are there any things you're hearing about that we can dig into further or that you want to share? You can take some time, and I believe my lovely friend Christabel is going to read the responses. These are my nieces about 20 years ago, no, 10 years ago. So Christy, do you want to let us know if anybody's sharing?
You know, all I'm able to see on my side of things are a couple questions that we've already addressed. So I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Nikki, how about you?
Hi guys. Yeah, sorry, Chrissy, I'm gonna try to make it adjustable so you can see it too. It looks like there's a couple questions on here. It looks like just to follow up with what Becky had said, it looks like we're looking for some resources on the CICC website. So we'll follow up from today's webinar with an email with resources, and we'll make sure to connect with Becky and get that. It looks like a couple of program leaders have asked questions, so let's see what they've said or shared. I've heard Lily says that they've been hearing from our families with children with special needs, so that's good. And Katie says, and Lily continues saying that they're struggling at home with lack of routine. And so much of what we're doing at our center was involved with social and emotional growth. So it's difficult to support when the children aren't in that setting. Yep, we can understand that. Looks like also program leaders shared that parents are overwhelmed with the amount of work that children have to do. So assuming that's probably in the K-12 system too, but anything else. And then someone else shared that one 4-year-old told the class that the reason why the big kids can't go to school is because they ran out of toilet paper. Thank you for the light share.
Well, it could have been true too. So thank you, Nikki. So I'm going to just say to Becky here, and you don't have to answer back, but if you want to note a couple of those things about social emotional at home and routines, that would be great if we could get some of that to add to our resource when we send it out, Beck. She's giving me an invisible thumbs up. So
Yep, we'll work
you.
on that.
All right, thanks, Becky.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. And let's move on. Oh, I like to do this like a radio show. And now, wait, I'm going to go my bass voice. And now, a word from our sponsor, Kristen Wheeler Highland. Are you there, Kristen?
Oh, I'm just unmuted her, so she
doesn't have to speak in her bass voice, though.
Go ahead, Kristen. You should be good to go.
All right, it just told me I was unmuted. And you know, I'm good at speaking to inanimate objects, so I could talk to the computer screen and be muted at the same time. So thank you so much for inviting me and in this important TEL Talk today. And as Cory said, I've been around a long time, and this is big stuff. And everybody keeps talking about when the world will go back to normal, and I'm convinced that it will never go back. We were going to be inventing and creating a new normal. And I think that's one of the things we have to keep thinking about. I was in a Zoom meeting earlier today, and they talked about the fact that for the first couple of weeks, it felt like we all put Band-Aids on it, and we just said, hold the Band-Aid, as if it was all going to be over in 2 weeks. And we're beginning to realize that one Band-Aid isn't going to hold it, and it's not going to be done. So we need to pick our heads up and look at someplace else. For those of you that know, Manesi-Minseka is the state affiliate to two national organizations, the NAEYC, National Association for the Education of Young Children, and the NAA, or National After School Alliance. So we are operating with all kinds of providers, whether they are in early childhood, but my organization is also working with those programs that are handling school-age children, whether they're family childcare providers, center-based operators, or school districts doing before and after school care. And one of the overwhelming messages that we have received is how overwhelmed everyone is, and in particular, how overwhelmed with information and resources people are. And there is this sense of intimidation and being inundated with information. And before I speak to that for just a second, let me also just say that like Child Care Aware, my executive director for our agency has switched into almost full-time advocacy mode. I'm not sure she sleeps much these days. And she's been working in partnership with Child Care Aware and many other organizations looking at advocating on the part of programs and providers and professionals all in the field. But the other day, kind of early on in this, one of my friends posted this thing on Facebook about, she literally made a list of all the places where she had received the emails from. Like, you need this information, you need that information. And she basically said, I don't even know where to start, which got our organization thinking about how do we know where to start. So one of the things that I wanted to mention today in our call that we're trying to do to provide support for folks, in addition to the ongoing advocacy work, we have put out on one of our front pages, we have created what we're thinking of as either a landing page or a jumping off point, whichever perspective you want to take on it, where we have really tried to curate a list of good resources. And of course, CICC is on there, also the government page, but we're trying to keep it updated and we're trying to keep good information there. So rather than trying to cull through 4,000 emails a day, you can look at one spot and say, what do I really want to know about? So on our page, we have everything from current news and impacts to resources on funding and self-care, resources about our own mental health, and there's information about, for those of us that are trying to work from home, for those of you that are looking at, as Nikki was reporting to earlier, about activity ideas and connecting with families, including some massively fun virtual field trips to take. We've tried to create a page for people to start so that they have a place to go. We included resources from other partners, and we are continually looking at information and updating it with anything new that seems relevant for folks on our page. So we're trying to support everybody in maybe cutting down a little bit on being overwhelmed and letting people choose and be selective. One of the things that we know about the human brain is we don't like uncertainty. And we also know that the human brain likes to be able to put some distance between yourself and what's happening in the world. So we really tried to create a page that allows you to do that. You can pick and choose what you want to know information about, but provide you up to the minute and curated resources that are important. And so we've been doing that. We're also working on some professional development that you guys might find interesting. There'll be an announcement next week about a new session that's coming out that will be a combination of things. It's going to be free to anybody who's got a membership in either NACI or Manesi or Minseka, but it will be also available to non-members. So we're looking forward to getting that put together. And as I said, the announcement will go out next week. And as Nikki and Christy have said, while you're sending in information to them via the chat, if you have any ideas or other resources that you would like to see also be curated and called into our place, we would love to hear about that as well, because we're going to continue to keep moving forward while we do this. So thank you again for inviting me. And I'm going to throw it back to you, Cory, in my best announcer voice.
Thank you. Wait, I'm waiting for your announcer voice.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll
You don't
move
get
on.
much more.
Thank you. So Kristen is right that their page is amazing. It really helped me. I'm trying to get my slides to switch. There we go. Their page was wonderful. It really helped me. So what I'd like to do now is just take a moment again to reflect back to you all. And Nikki, you're going to read the responses again because apparently we can't figure out how to work Christy. I'm taking all the blame for any technology problem because I still feel like I crashed it last week. So anyways, so Nikki, is there anybody that has anything to share around program management or making ends meet, staffing, regulations, or any questions that we can take back to our group?
Sure. I think there's a great question on here that might kind of pertain to just asking for some general questions or suggestions from the 130 or so people that maybe are on the call today and any of the experts. Questions, comments here are, how are centers abiding by the CDC and MDH guidelines for social distancing, cleaning schedules with toddlers and preschoolers? Are folks wearing masks at schools? What about you done to support staff who are at risk or can't work or don't feel safe working? And their program is thinking about reopening and struggling to imagine how to follow all of those guidelines. So if you want to type in on the question chat function, feel free to do that in response to that question. And if any of our experts or anyone online would like to respond, go ahead to that too.
Becky, do you guys have any information from CICC on that or any suggestions?
Cory, I'm going to jump in for just a second. This is
Sure.
Kristen.
Yep.
I reached out to NAEYC because anybody that knows accreditation knows that NAEYC has published this cleaning and sanitizing table. And when programs saw it in the beginning, they're a little overwhelmed. Interesting. I reached out to NAEYC to ask them about how their cleaning and sanitation guidelines held up against the CDC and with our own state health guidelines. And they have crosswalked their cleaning and sanitation table with the guidelines from the CDC and have found them to be a pretty good match. So one of the things that I would also say to programs is that's a great resource as well, is the NAEYC cleaning and sanitation guidelines, because they very clearly are more than what a lot of programs had been doing previously, and they're a good match for the CDC and Minnesota Department of Health.
Perfect. Is that up on your website, Kristen?
I can certainly send a link to you, a PDF link to you that can go out.
Perfect. That would be lovely. Thank you. Nikki, are we getting any responses?
Yeah, we have a few suggestions from program leaders that are saying that their programs and staff are wearing masks, and that some people have taken the suggestions and are following that by having children spaced out throughout the program or throughout the center or wherever they're situated. Also, programs thinking about reopening and to address the concerns of their team and their staff. They've had Zoom calls to discuss their concerns both as a group and individually, scheduling extra staff to cushion in time there, knowing that it's a potentially more stressful time. Just listening and being supportive. It sounds like a lot of program leaders are doing. And again, following those pretty strict sanitizing and accreditation, like they mentioned, NAEYC guidelines on cleaning. And then Cory, I know you opened it up to the questions about making ends meet, staffing, that kind of thing. There
Right.
are there's some questions about that too. Should we go ahead and do those?
Let's go ahead and move to that.
Okay, great. So looks like a couple leaders are asking, you know, they want to protect their business and care for families at the same time, and it's a hard balance. So we recognize that, and I would suggest if you're hearing that or feeling that, keep putting those things in these questions in these suggestion box. We need to hear from you guys. And then there's some questions here regarding the grants, and I don't know how much detail we want to get into that or be able to refer people to the correct information, but some questions about the next rounds of grants and where to go for more information about that.
I would say, this is Christy again,
Yep,
just
go ahead,
to
Christy.
to check back at our website, childcareaware of Minnesota.org. We'll be posting more information as it becomes available. And there's also some data that's posted there as well about the first round of grants. But you should be able to find instructions and when the application will reopen for May within the next few days.
Thank you, Christy.
Great, thanks. There's also a share about, you know, making sure that everyone's staying safe and taking temperatures and following all those precautions from the CDC before entering or coming to work. Curbside pickup of children was a term that was used, checking temperatures and fevers. I did hear from a program leader that's having a difficult time finding thermometers. So if anybody on here has a suggestion, that would be great. All right, Cory, I think we can.
Can I ask a question of everybody?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question. I am teaching practicum at Minneapolis College this summer, and I have students that need placements. Is anybody opening up their programs for student placements, or do you feel that's too risky?
Go ahead and type in the questions box there, guys, or the chat function if you want to respond to Cory's question or any of the other questions that got posed earlier. We have a program director that said they would do student placement as long as they, you know, as long as they follow protocol and
Right.
stay
Right,
safe.
our students have to background check, so she can email me. If you want to type my email in there, if anybody is interested, I have 3 students that need a placement.
Yep, Cory, I'll put your contact information in here and or contact me, guys, and we'll get you connected to Cory. But it looks like there's quite a few programs that would be interested in.
Yay, I love
students.
you all. I knew we're the best. Early childhood is the best. So, and my students are amazing, FYI. So, all right, well, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And again, I want to remind you that what you're typing in the chat box, if we didn't answer it today, we're going to be reading these deeply and looking for ways we can respond and support you too. Oh dear, Nikki, it's you. You're up again.
Oh, everyone just wants to hear my voice. Yeah, right. All right.
It is a great voice.
Oh, well, we'll see here. So the information on the screen right now is just really exciting. It's a little plug for next month's TEL Talk, which is on May 21st at 1 p.m. And I just wanted to share that I did actually just have a conversation with Taya Dolly that's going to be presenting that information. And originally we wanted to bring you information regarding the network of mental health consultants in our state. And we'll still be bringing a little bit of that information to you, but she's pivoted her focus for the webinar for next month to really respond to the things that we're hearing from program leaders. And so she's going to take a little bit more in-depth approach to how you're doing, to kind of, again, go off of today's webinar, but go a little bit deeper into, you know, some strategies and some reflective ways to help you cope during this with your own mental health. And then again, going with what Becky said, the things that we're seeing from the children. So mental health all around, stay tuned and register for the May 21st webinar.
Thank you, Nikki. So, and we do also have a program in Minnesota with mental health coaching for children. And so that we will send that information out as well, so you can learn more about the program through the Department of Human Services.
Yep, we'll include that with the follow-up.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. Okay, so I feel like this every day. So one of the things that we were also thinking about in one of our buckets around your staff and even ourselves is how do we take care of the staff? We have Taya here next month to really help you with more of that, because we're not necessarily qualified, and we understand each person is different. And so we were just curious or wanted to know if you had any idea of how you were working with staff, or if your staff, what types of supports they might need. You can type in. I'm going to keep talking for a second, because I know even with our staff, and we're not caring for children, you know, some of us are extroverts, and even us extroverts are a little fried of Zoom though. We're tired of looking at our faces. Some people are introverts, and I find that group also is tired of being alone all the time too, because it's very different. And I think the biggest thing, Kristen and I talked a little bit about this in a group we were in too, is this fear of the unknown, and we don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know when we're going to go back to school, although I hear there's an announcement today at 2 by the governor. But we don't know. Not knowing is probably the hardest thing. So do you have any suggestions on how you're helping your staff cope?
Cory, I'll monitor the questions box, and
Okay.
everybody feel free to jump in here, whatever you. I also think I might ask some of our expert friends on the line too, our partners, what you guys have heard or how you're helping to manage emotions. I think I got you guys all off mute.
One of the things we've heard too is every day is different. One day you might feel great, and the next day you don't feel great. And again, I put that to that, you never know what you do. It's hard not knowing. Kristen said it so well the other day, that's anticipatory grief. And I'm actually in a group at Minneapolis College where we're reading a book on trauma, and they got an article on this anticipatory grief. And that's when you don't know what to expect. And it's really a part of this grief process. And it was a really good article. We got anything, Nikki, or should I move on?
Nope, I got a couple here that I think are worth,
great.
Everything's worth sharing, just trying to summarize the best I can.
Okay.
It looks like some people have taken advantage of the mental health coaching available, so that's really
Nice.
great to hear, and sounds like it's getting some rave reviews, so that's really great to hear. It looks like some programs have chosen to close or added in a mental health day for their educators. And some directors or program leaders have, just increased their amount of check-ins with staff, either by text, phone, or in person. Also engaging with some of the families. Families want to help at this time too. Like you said earlier, Cory, with Fred Rogers, like looking for the people that want to help. Not everyone, everyone's coping differently, but a lot of people want to help. So it looks like some families have been bringing in lunch, trying to help keep up the morale. And again, sometimes taking time to close a day or two to provide some care for their own mental health and maybe their own personal family.
Right.
Becky, I'm sorry, I tried to unmute you, but for some reason it's not letting me. But it looks like Becky shared, we're really hearing that just spending the time talking with someone is the most helpful. And remembering that we can't always make decisions because there's so much information changing. So sometimes we just need to, like Lily says, sleep on it for a while and trust ourselves. Splitting shifts has been helping people manage emotions and giving some additional PTO. So that's what we got for now, Cory.
They're excellent, and I do like the idea of, well, the listening to people is critical, and thinking about each individual and what you know about them. That's why I'm such a huge fan of the Clifton Strength Fund. And think about each one of your employees and what are their strengths and what are they going to need to, and then also thinking about the all of the luggage that they're carrying with them every day. There's a lot of suitcases being hauled around by a lot of people. So, and we're not used to carrying those with us everywhere we go. So I'm
Hey,
going to
Cory.
move. Yeah.
Oh, Cory, right before you move on, I just wanted to see, we finally got Becky unmuted.
Oh,
So just wanted to hear
Becky.
what her share is. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You know, there've been some really great things that have been tossed around, and I would say that we're hearing a lot of those really great ideas. But yeah, as Nikki mentioned, we're really just hearing when we're able to connect with programs. Our coaches are just hearing that just having that person to bounce ideas off of is super helpful. Someone to listen, someone to chat with, and kind of brainstorm with is very helpful. And then also, if you do have, I heard somebody say kind of like focusing in on, well, maybe that's just it, is focusing in on what you can do and what you can control right now, and really kind of letting some of those other things go if they're not urgent needs is helpful. So just giving yourself the grace to say, I can't do it all and I don't need to do it all, and right now we're going to attend to the things that we know are super important. And if some of that is passing off some things to somebody else so you can focus in on doing those important things, you know, giving yourself permission to do that is super helpful during these times.
Thanks, Becky. That word grace has been tossed around a little bit today and a lot in a couple meetings I've been into, and it's such an amazing word lately because it's really what we're doing for each other, what we're doing for ourselves, what we're doing for our families, and I hope that perhaps this will be a shift in how we treat people all the time. Maybe that's my positivity that I carry with me. So with that, I'm going to move us on to our next speaker, and this is we're going to listen to Elsa Carlson, and Elsa's the manager of the TARS program, but she is just a lovely soul and really helps. I'd say she grounds me, but I'm not very groundable, but she tries really hard to make me think deeply about things, and that's a hard job. Are you ready, Elsa?
Yep, I'm all ready. Hey everyone, I'm Elsa, and like Cory said, I'm the TARS manager. So I work statewide with supporting trainers and coaches and just our contract overall. But my role right now is to just kind of talk about, like the slide says, you don't have to do it all and you shouldn't. So personally, I'm a working from home full-time mom with 3 kids at home, schooling them and trying to keep their mental health good and keep us all grounded and still work and feed. And as you all know, just the normal demands of having children around. So I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I've been doing to keep myself grounded and like, again, that word grace, just give myself grace and knowing that I can't do it all. And as everyone has touched on, there's incredible amounts of resources kind of floating around and coming at us throughout the whole day. And it can be incredibly overwhelming to try to sort through it and then also be the person to share out resources and just kind of, we're that person a lot of times that people come to. So some ways to make time for yourself, some of the things that I have found really helpful is even taking 5 minutes to step outside and get some fresh air and notice the things that are coming up, if there's leaves popping out on the trees or flowers coming up, just breathing in some fresh air, feeling the sun on my face. I know you guys are super busy in your programs or doing what it is you're doing now, even if your program is closed, but sometimes it doesn't take a lot to do those things. taking 5 minutes or even 2 minutes just to spend in quiet meditation or breathing to settle the anxieties that we're feeling right now. So those are just some things that I'm doing every day. I try to think of things that I'm grateful for, because I do have a lot to be grateful for, and it can be very overwhelming and scary to think about those that don't have those things. So I just want to encourage you to take care of yourselves. At the end of the day, shut off the computer, shut off the emails. You set some boundaries for yourself so that you have that mental health break that you're giving your staff when you can, and take care of yourself in small ways. That's what I have.
Thank you, Elsa. That's lovely. Oop. And I wanted to add one other thing. If you want to go ahead, if you guys have ideas to share, go ahead and type those in and Nikki will read them. I wanted to add one other thing that Elsa told me the other day, or told our group, that I found it was more about not what we were doing for ourselves, but what you didn't do. And I found that it really stuck with me, in that so many of us thought, well, I'm going to be working at home. I'm going to, learn French or German, and I'm going to build a garden, and I'm going to, learn how to stick shift or whatever it is. And, we're not doing that. We can't do that. I can't even read a book, and I don't know why. And I did see an article recently about why we can't finish a book, and I can't even remember why, but I don't know what it is with your brain. I'm sure I feel like somebody could tell me it, but don't do it if you don't want to, or if you can't. Just focus on all of the things you have to do right now, which are many, 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 and don't try to start something new if you're not ready.
It's funny you mentioned that, Cory, because I was super excited when this all kind of happened. I was like, oh, I'm going to read all these books that have been sitting on my nightstand, and I'm going to start doing like my normal yoga practice. And literally I've gotten through maybe a chapter in the last month of my book, and it's not even a hard book. And it's just reading and doing the little things, because there is no way to fit it all in, even though it seems like there should be more time. There's just not.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, I'm reading Hop on Pop, and that's as far as I can get. So, all right. Anybody else reading Hop on Pop with me, Nick?
No, but I'm also having difficulty getting through even a book or a show. So I feel you on that, and want to echo some of the suggestions and comments that the leaders on the line on the webinar have shared. Lily says she's knitted 3 sweaters since March 16th, so that's awesome. And Heather tells us that she's been trying to get outside at least twice a day. She shared a personal share that after getting breast cancer last year, she agrees, trying to be grateful and present for what we have, thinking that it, in some way it's tying back with our families too.
Yeah, thank you, Heather.
So appreciate you guys for sharing that. Something else I heard that I wanted to share here is someone was saying the other day, I feel like I'm so busy and not busy at the same time, or that time's going slow, but it's also going really fast. And she shared that she didn't realize how much time she took just driving to and from work that was helping her to process or decompress. So finding ways, even if it's just small, even if it's just going to sit in the car by yourself for a few minutes, giving yourself some time alone, or quietness, if that's what you need.
Yeah. That's so funny, because I looked at my car. I literally don't think I've been in my car I haven't driven for 6 weeks. And you're right, I have an hour drive back and forth. And what am I doing with that time, I don't want to know, but.
Cory, we have another share here too that, some people are saying this is not extra time right now. And some people are just, surviving things and preparing, their skills. So we're hearing that it's nice to hear from others that it's okay not to read that novel. It's okay not to clean the entire house. And everyone's expectations are high and different, and understanding that some people's energies are just used up at this point, and it's okay.
Hey, Nikki, can I step in one more time? This is Elsa.
Yeah, of course.
I've been seeing and feeling this pretty deeply about this. We're all in the same boat, and I heard it and I realized all at once, I was just sort of like, but we're not. And to be able to see that everyone's experience during this time is incredibly different, even if it may look the same from the outside. And sometimes it's okay to just stop and maybe not share out a ton of resources, or, you know, even as a parent, I sometimes feel like even when things are optional, I feel like it puts a pressure on me to try to do those things with my kids or to connect them with their friends. And it's just another thing. And so just knowing and understanding that some people have, you know, limited resources or no resources to do these things, even if it's emotional resource or time as a resource. So to be mindful of that is important too, because we need to be able to really put ourselves in other people's shoes at this time and just know that it's okay to not give out more and more information as well.
I agree. Thank you. So I just want you guys to know I've kind of laid down and taken this as my own therapy session. So thanks for coming. I just realized I was going further and further down on my chair and just listening to all your advice, going, you know, I feel like I'm in therapy here. So anyways, it is 2 o'clock, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and thank you all for coming. We had 135 people here, so obviously we need some time to just debrief, and we hope that we were able to give you the gift of an opportunity to talk, the gift of recognition for what you do, and the gift of sharing with others and knowing you are essential, you are courageous, you are kind, and you are safe with us. So with that, I bid you farewell and watch for an email from us within the next 7 days. Correct, Nikki and Christy?
Yep, we'll be quickly gathering all the information here and getting it back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
coming. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.